What's up, IBT family? Week 13, it started with a bang, and we're gonna keep it rolling with our start, sits, and sleepers. Let's have a day. It's the IBT podcast coming at you.
Cause I've been in tune, out of touch, coming off the bench, trying to shake the funk, check a stat line, see who's up, that over under hit too clutch.
And I'm trying to avoid getting carried away with the jet sweep, sleeping on a trick play, predicting all of my moves like they seen every play. And so I'm running it back, head down, get out of my way. And it's for the law with only one thing to do. I guess I'll say a prayer and put it all on the line for you. What they don't know, something they haven't seen. I find a gap on the screen and hit them right in between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it.
Just one thing to say, yeah, what they don't know, something they haven't seen. I'm off that mean Joe Green, it got me fading between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it. The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. It is Feel Good Friday, December 1st. Barely. Seth Woolcock back with you, and we're coming at you pre-recorded today, and I apologize about the inconvenience. We love having this show live. We love hanging out with y'all live in the chat. But Xfinity, they strike again here this week. Emailed me earlier today and said, hey, you're going to have some outages tomorrow. So I didn't want to risk it. And we're like, all right, let's get together after Thursday Night Football. Let's do this thing. And the game happened to be bonanzas, having to go super long. So we are in the wee hours of the morning right now. If you guys do want to ask questions, the best thing I can say is either A, head over to the Fantasy Football Advice Network, create an account, ask us questions over there. Me and my IBT gang are in there, and a lot of great other folks that can answer your questions, or just leave a comment here on YouTube in the actual video, and we'll get to it over the weekend as well. Also joining us tonight is someone who I just consider a fill-in host at this point. He's slinging Yoders. He's slinging country music. He's slinging fantasy football advice with the best of them. The founder of the Fantasy Football Advice Network. He's Tyler Bradley. What's up, Tyler?
What's up, man? What a game tonight. There's so much going on. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I got the blue ice lights in the back because winter has come, and I don't know about you guys in Pennsylvania, but even here in Memphis, it's chilly.
What's chilly for you? It's like 55 there, isn't it?
No. We've been close to 30,
okay.
40 to 30. That's a little chilly, anytime I walk out in the morning and like my windshield's iced and I gotta like de-thaw my truck, that's chilly. That's chilly enough. Now we ain't like, one of our riders is up in Canada and he's like, dude, it's like 5 degrees here today.
Yeah.
I'm like, bump that, bro. I'm not for that game. But yeah, man, glad to be here. It's always a pleasure coming on the show and hanging out with you guys, hanging out with you, Seth, hanging out with y'all's wonderful people at IBT and all the people that tune into your show. So super excited for tonight, and always glad when I can come on with y'all.
Hell yeah, man. Happy to have you. And we're loaded today. We are absolutely loaded. We are going to talk about Thursday Night Football. We're going to recap the game. We're going to get in my starts and sits for the week. And then we're going to bounce over to the Fantasy Football Advice Network. And we're going to check out some of the questions over there. And like I said, over the weekend, we'll continue to answer your guys' questions if you have them. If you're catching the show, we're going to premiere it here at 2 p.m. like our usual time. But thank you guys for all the support. We had another big week and some gains on the subscriber front. So thank you so much for that. That is very much appreciated. Shout out to the South Harmon guys. Again, we had them on earlier this week on short notice, and it was an electric program. So thank you guys again. And let's go ahead and hit it here. Tyler, let's get into front and center and talk about the Thursday Night Football game of the year, of the century, of your lifetime. Let's break it down.
Sometimes taking that first step out the door is the hardest thing to do.
the just trying to have some fun. Ain't gotta worry about knowing not what it means. Come and give me another, cause the night is young. At least I so thought.
This just in. Breaking news. Front and center.
I gotta say, man, I think my drops or the drops for this program get me even more pumped up at 2 a.m. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling ready to go. And if you're here on YouTube, you're seeing Tyler. He's just holding up a CD Lamb framed autograph jersey. Thank you, Tyler. I have one just like that actually on my wall. I won from you guys at the expo here, a Tyreek Hill one. But yeah, CD Lamb, the king of the night. And what a game this was, man. This is one, looking back at it, Cowboys, they outlast the Seahawks 41-35, 76 total points in this one. The Cowboys now have scored 40 points in 50% of their games, 6 of 12 this season. And just great offenses. We saw great offenses. This kind of reminded me of, I would almost say 4 or 5 years ago, the game we saw on Monday night that had Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff when Goff was back with the Rams. Kind of reminded me of that. 9 for 14 from the Seahawks on third down, and then the Cowboys 8 for 14. So just efficient all the way around, but a shit ton of flags, Tyler. There were so many penalties in this game. There were 3 flags at least thrown, and they picked them back up and they said no penalty. So overall, Dallas gets the win. I think Seattle outplayed them. But Dallas, they possessed the ball for 36 plus minutes. What'd you think?
Man, it was a fun game. You know, I really thought that Dallas would own it. And, you know, there was some, I mean, somehow Seattle was able to hang in there, you know, like Charbonnet didn't look electric, but he ran fine.
Yeah.
You know, they had a few big plays. You know, it's funny. We were talking about DK on my other show last week. And, you know, after he had those couple drops and we were like, you know, calling him dishpan hands. But then I had a revelation and I was like, you know what? I was like, DK is the new slant boy. You know, like Michael Thomas's slant boy. DK, even tonight, his touchdown, he ran a slant, caught it, and then took off down the field.
Which one of them? The first one, the big one, the money one.
Well, the third one too was either a slant or a drag across the field. But you know, we were used to seeing DK on the streak routes or like, you know, like he somehow like that's this narrative, but it's changed a lot. So, anyways, DK is the most frustrating player for people. He's boom, he's bust. And then he's boom again, you know. So it's like I had somebody in one of our leagues was like, you know, he's such a frustrating player to roster. He can have an awful game and then he can have 3 touchdowns, you know.
And I think that's the thing with DK Metcalf. And let's talk about him in shower beers. This is usually the segment where Eric and we kick off the weekend with a couple shower beers. You know, we're getting ready, the pregame. And if we were drinking a shower beer for every player who did good in this one, we would be absolutely hammered. We're not making it out to the bars tonight, Tyler, because we're getting absolutely hammered here at the house with all these players that did so well. And DK Metcalf, the star of the night, as you brought up, 37.9 PPR points for him. He takes a slant, goes to the house, 80 yards in the first half. And then after that, he's getting some really nice red zone work again. And this isn't surprising for me at all, Tyler. A couple weeks ago, we did our league winners show, and DK Metcalf was one of my league winners. Alexander Madison also was, so let's not hold that against me. But DK Metcalf, like the air yards have been there all season. The red zone targets have been there all season. He's been a valuable piece of this offense. It just hasn't always come to fruition. And you know, down the stretch, they went away from him. I don't know if they were just playing that tight of coverage on him. That I think they were doubling him after early on. But if you notice on that last drive, those last 2 drives, they went away from him. It was Lockett who was getting a lot of targets, and it was JSN, and they weren't making the plays at the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, I thought there on that last drive, they hit Lockett on that, it was like 16, 20-yard pass. I was like, oh, here we go. They're going to drive this field, and Lockett's going to eat, you know, and they're going to get down because Lockett's good for that. It's a lot of that
I think actually the addition of JSN has kind of like convoluted that and created some gray area there for Lockett
Yeah.
as he continues to get more work. But DK obviously has a different position in that offense. He's not, they want to use him. They want to get him out in space. They want to get him running down the field. And so he's always going to have that big play possibility, like your short routes, your cut routes, your comebacks. That's what you want for Lockett. That's what you want for a JSN. Those big plays. I mean, that's what DK is built for. And so it's always exciting when we get to see that, and we get to see it happen. They get you all the DK owners are like, yes, finally, but there were so many studs in this game. I can tell you probably one of the biggest surprises. And, Dak Prescott has been absolutely wild. I mean, at the beginning of the season, I'm talking about I'm on a show on what was it, week 6. So week 6, I'm live on air, and I'm like, they're like dogging Dak. They're like, Dak.
I think I was on that program, and I think either you were on my channel or I was on your channel, and I told people to drop Dak. I dropped Dak. In my biggest money league, I dropped Dak this year. I had Anthony Richardson. Luckily, I got Howell in that. But, I gave batted. That's my worst call of the season.
Well, and I was sitting there, and I'm like, play Dak this week. Like, I'm going Dak. Like, it's going to happen, guys. And everybody's like, you're an idiot. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to
I was definitely on that show. Yeah.
I'm going to sit over here on my island, and I'm going to tell you, they have an offense. They're figuring out. They're going to get going. So that week, he goes for almost 300 yards, 272 yards and a touchdown in the air. And then he also had 7 rushes for 40 yards and a touch. So 2 touchdowns right before the bye. Then after the bye, since bye week,
just been electric.
Dak has thrown, not like the rushing, thrown for 20 touchdowns.
Holy, wow, I didn't know it was that many.
Yes, 20 touchdowns. So
how many weeks is that? Like 6 weeks, 7 weeks?
That is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks.
He's like in the MVP conversation now.
Right. I mean, like, if I tell you this, if Dallas somehow wins that division, if they can beat the Eagles in that division, that's a conversation. But for everybody that has Dak, everybody that took Dak in round 5 of Superflex drafts or whatever,
10 in your one quarterback leagues, probably 10 or 11.
You're killing it. You're killing it. And it's exciting because everybody's waiting for the fall. Like, everybody's like, when's it going to end? Like, this ride's crazy. It's like a thrilling roller coaster, and you're waiting to just come up and park at the end. Like, when's it going to end? When is Dak going to go back to the playoff?
He looked terrible to begin the year. Like, he just didn't look good either. The offense as a whole didn't look good. But, yeah, shout out Dak, 28.3 PPR points for him. I mean, Patrick Mahomes or Dak Prescott, rest of the season. One word. Who you got?
I mean, you got to go Dak. And it really, let me tell you, it's not a talent thing. It's more of a weapons thing. Like, Dak has weapons. He's getting it to CD. Brandon Cooks has been a great deep play, over the last few weeks. Like a wide receiver 3 that's putting up a touchdown a game.
16.5 points for him tonight, too.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody was down on Pollard. Everybody was down on Pollard. And they're like, Pollard's a bust. He's had a touchdown for the last 3 weeks. Is it just Dallas? Like, are they unstoppable? Like, everybody can just be fantasy point relevant? Or, are they just riding are they just on fire right now? Like, is it going to be short-lived, or is it going to be, can it carry you through your fantasy playoffs?
Yeah, Tony Pollard is. I wrote our winners and losers article, and I had him as a loser in week 10. But I said, like, hold the faith. I think this is the bounce back week, and he's been great since. So 17.3 PPR points for him, getting it done. Jake Ferguson, 19.7. He was one of my favorite sleepers this offseason. I'm glad to see he has been the real deal. It's streaky sometimes. It's not always great with Ferguson. Like, he is a low-end tight end 1, but he has these boom potential. We talked about Brandon Cooks, and then back to the Seahawks a little bit. Geno, I mean, it came out of nowhere, man. But he's still dealing with the elbow issue. It looks like it, but the dude is gritty. He's gonna be out there. Nearly 30 PPR points for him tonight. Zach Charbonnet 17, DK as we mentioned 38, and shout out JSN. I know down the stretch he kind of crumbled a little bit. Was getting taken advantage of out there. I felt like coming out of the slot by their nickel corner, but still, JSN had a really nice game, 13 PPR points for him, and would have been bigger. I thought that one touchdown was a catch, Tyler. So I was thinking he could have had a 19, 20-point game if that's the case. So JSN, it's good to see him rebounding. The only losers here, I think, for me, there's three of them. Tyler Lockett, the most explosive game we've seen from the Seahawks all season, wasn't that involved. He didn't kill you. He got 9.7, but he's not winning you a week. So that was kind of a bummer. Michael Gallup, I mean, no one's rostering Michael Gallup really for a while now in redraft, but like Dynasty, like you got to hope he gets off this team. Like, I don't know why. He's just not a part of the offense at all.
Yeah. And, the other bust for me in this game, like until the very last play, was really the Dallas defense. I mean,
Yeah.
Bland had a good, interception. Otherwise, he was getting beat most of the game, and then like, where the hell, pardon my French, where was Micah Parsons? You know what I mean? Like until that last play where he put the pressure on Geno to close out the game. I mean, I'm sitting there, I've got him in my IDP league thinking that it's going to be Sack City tonight. And like, I'm like, where is he? Is he playing? Like what's going on?
Yeah.
And, it was not, I mean, I came into the game thinking like, okay, if I have somebody in this game, I'm probably like, if I have DK, I don't know that I'm pushing him out there and thinking he's going to have a 3-touchdown game. Like I'm thinking he's probably going to be like Lockett's game, 7-9 points, something like that, as they kind of try to keep up with this hot Dallas offense. But that defense has been so good. I mean, what a bummer to start Dallas against a struggling Seattle team over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And end up with negative points.
Yeah. -3 is hard to swallow for a team. We do an article every week over at Fantasy Pros, and it's about games won. It's about, breaking it down by actual games won and how much a player helps you on your team, whether they're in or out of your lineup. And Dallas defense has been one of the fantasy MVPs this season, and they let people down in a big, big spot in week number 13. I think they'll figure it out. They have so much depth on that pass rush. I think they'll get it cleaned up there. And the secondary, man, they're going to be aggressive. They're going to make some mistakes like Deron Bland did early in this game, but he bounced back late. He got the interception that kind of helped them get in front and get back in this one. So great game all around, man. And I fucking love football. I love football. Like this is what because we've gotten some real clunkers on primetime this year, especially with the injuries. Like
Monday night.
Yeah, I love the Jet. Like that would have been a great game Monday night with the Bengals and the Jaguars. But now no Joe Burrow, it's not going to be that great of a game. It'll still be fun. I have a lot of Jaguars, so I'll be might head down to the tavern and have a couple and enjoy it. But yeah, just in general, the prime times have been kind of subpar the last couple weeks, and this has been great. So yeah, shout out to everyone. Great game there. And Tyler, let's go ahead and look forward to the rest of this week 13 slate, which I think it's going to be a great one. And let's break it down here in matchup management.
Who you got?
Matchup management.
Who's it gonna be?
All right, matchup management. This is how I want to play this week, Tyler, since we don't have our live audience. Before we get to some questions over at the forum, I want to give you my start of the week or my sit of the week. And then I want a little bit of give me some feedback, whether you're on it, whether you're off it. But more importantly, I'm going to give you some other names and that I think I would start this player above or sit them for. And I just want to see where you are. How's that sound?
Sure. Sounds like a good time.
All right. Let's start here at the quarterback position. Sam Howell. Listen, Sam Howell, there's a lot of question marks here. I feel like in the offseason with the Washington Commanders. We know Ron Rivera is probably not going to be here. Is Eric Bieniemy going to be back? Will he be the head coach? I think we'll figure that out. But he has just a great matchup this week with Miami coming to town. This is the best offense in the league, yardage wise, number 2 in scoring behind only the Cowboys. And I think it's just going to create an environment where Sam Howell, again, is going to have to sling the fuck out of the pill, man. Like, we're talking 45 plus times again, maybe 50. He's been a QB1, 6 games straight now? I think he's definitely going to be a QB1 this week and has high-end QB1 upside, like possibly a 30 burger in him this week. I'm very high on Howell. How do you feel about him? And would you be starting him over other guys in that range? Like, how do you feel about someone like Justin Herbert? I would think I actually might consider Howell over him.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this matchup. I always like quarterbacks when they're playing from behind, like receivers. Like when they were playing from behind last week, I mean, Curtis Samuel just lighting it up, for us. I mean, Sam Howell's thrown for over 300 yards in 4 of the last 5 games. Like you want that kind of production, and especially in a shootout. Like we were talking about, like this game, like this Washington-Miami game could literally be like tonight, just a complete bonanza game. Like
highest total
40,
on the weekend.
Yeah,
Total on the weekend, yeah.
40 points per side, like could be crazy. And so that kind of upside, like that ceiling alone is worth starting them over, most others. Like, you got like Herbert, who's really been, hasn't been that great at New England. Don't love it. You know what I mean? Like
it's a low scoring game, it sounds like,
Yeah, right. I think he's gonna the pure upsides there for that to be big for Hal. That's a good call, in my opinion.
I'm going to throw out a couple more names. Would you start Sam Howell over Kyler Murray? Because I'm very low on Kyler Murray this week. I can explain a little bit more if you want, but Kyler Murray, don't love the matchup against Pittsburgh. I think he's going to be running for his life in this one. And like, he's just kind of like Joshua Dobbs was last week coming into it. Joshua Dobbs had 5 straight games or something crazy of rushing touchdowns. Kyler Murray is 3, and he hasn't really been playing all that great. It's just kind of been the rushing that's kept him up. So any love for Kyler Murray? Would you start him over Howell?
No, I wouldn't start Murray over Howell. I'm still waiting to see Murray get it downfield. He hasn't connected hardly on any of his deep shots. A lot of overthrows on Hollywood Brown. Like it just, like you said, it's been mostly the run game. And this week he's got freaking Highsmith, like TJ Watt. Like it's not like Pittsburgh's not weak when it comes to closing down on a quarterback. So
right.
He's going to have to get it out, or he's going to take a lot of sacks, and he's going to be pouting on the sidelines. And we know when Kyler pouts, he sucks even more. So, I'm definitely not taking. I'm taking Howell over Murray this week for sure.
I think I'm a little bit higher on Brock Purdy than Howell. I think Brock Purdy's like an auto start this week, pretty much. For me, he's a guy you probably picked him up off waivers, so it depends who you have. But against Philadelphia, I think Purdy is going to step up. Like that's another high scoring game that I want to be a part of. I think the Philadelphia defense against these elite teams, they're just not showing up until late in games. So I think we could see Purdy in this offense roll early. So I like him. He's kind of a top 5 play for me now that we have Dak removed from the equation.
That's close. That's closer for me. Purdy to Kittle is my connection on that lineup for the week. Philly's weak against the tight end, so I like Purdy to hit Kittle on, a good bit of passing. But I might still take Howell on the upside.
Wow, okay.
Over Purdy this week. I just think, Philly's not awful in the secondary. Like, it's gonna be, and they're not awful against the run.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's going to be that mid-range game that makes a difference. And so Purdy could be that, but I could also see Philly coming up with some turnovers.
Okay.
So I just, man, that freaking Miami Washington game I'm excited about. Like I'm like figuring out how I'm going to have it on my TV, in Memphis.
Yeah. And
But that's a close one.
I would honestly say too, this is like a week outside the top 12. I mean, I know we do have 6 quarterbacks on a bye, but outside the top 12, it gets really like sketchy really quick. Like Jordan Love against Kansas City. I like what Love's been doing. That one's kind of tough to stomach. Gardner Minshew against Tennessee, maybe. But then you got like Carr against Detroit. I don't feel great about that. Even Goff against New Orleans in the Big Easy. I don't know if I love that either. So it gets sketchy really quick. So like after freaking like Trevor Lawrence at like QB9 for me, there's not a whole lot I love at the position. So start your studs, and if you don't have a stud, like I don't want to say you're fucked, but like just like you're in for one this week. Honestly, man, it's tough out there. By apocalypse, it does that to you.
We'll give you some options later, maybe on a deep flyer.
Okay, all right, I like it. A little foreshadowing. Let's talk about running backs here, Tyler. My running back starts of the week are none other than Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris. You got to go back to him. Right now, over the last month, Jaylen Warren, RB4. Najee Harris, RB14. These guys are whatever you want to call them. I know it's not the prettiest, but right now they're performing like RB1s. And I think you got to keep rolling with them. Over 400 yards in the first game without the tyrant Matt Canada. So we're happy about that. And the Cardinals, man, like this is a team. They are so bad against running backs. It's not even funny. For 3 weeks straight, Tyler, either or there's been both a 100-yard rusher and someone of the running back position to score a touchdown. So they're making ends meet. Last week we saw Kyron Williams we saw Kyron Williams and Royce Freeman. Sorry, just the scrub of the scrub. But we saw them combine for 52 points. Like I think that's kind of what we see here from Jaylen and Najee. I think you get a little thunder and lightning, and I'm expecting big things from the Pittsburgh offense. I'm hyped. Let's go, baby.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm gonna say cheers. Okay, praise that Matt Canada is out.
Thank
the
you.
first game without Matt Canada, Najee, who everybody is, I mean, I've seen people drop him, and be like, oh, he's washed. Rushes for almost 99 yards and a touchdown, on like, I think it was like 15 carries. Like, I'm strong, like we got to see like how that offense and, Mike Tomlin loves to run the football. We got to see it work, and so I love that play. I love it against Arizona. Kyron Williams went for over 150, last week against Arizona. Like it could be one of those games where Pittsburgh doesn't even have to pass the ball. Like they could literally just lean on the running backs,
Michigan style, baby.
Run the show, and their defense will hold tight and sack Kyler like 4 times, and it ends up being, Mike Tomlin is going to mess up, and like the Steelers are going to make the playoffs. Like it's like crazy to how it all started. Somehow this team's going to end up in the playoffs.
That's what we do, man. That's what we do in Pennsylvania, bro. You can join us. It's affordable to live up here. Don't remember that.
Now that Matt Canada's gone, I might consider it.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Like I would play these guys easily over James Conner, Jerome Ford, but all the Carolina running backs. I'm not going there. Like even I think I'd play him over Raheem Mostert at Washington. I think that's such a bad secondary. I think there's gonna be a lot of throwing that in that game. So maybe not. Maybe that's too high. But like Aaron Jones, I'd rather play them over Aaron Jones. If Achan's active, I'm playing them over Achan. Like any of those that you would rather go than the Steelers.
Look, when you start getting into Miami and I think about big plays, like I think about Achan busting off 2 40-yarders, to the house.
He's hard to trust, though. He's hard to trust.
It is hard to trust. It is hard to trust. It's one of those like all risk, like big reward, big risk, big reward, or big risk and just it costs you your week. But like, I mean, I'm with you on all those calls. Like I'm not starting. I don't want Aaron Jones. I don't want them against Kansas City. Like I don't. There's a lot of these people that, I mean, you're nailing it. Like I'm not Connor against, Pittsburgh defense, I'm not in. I would rather have, and the matchup's just too good. It's kind of like, with when we were talking
It's
about
the
how,
nuts
like,
matchup. It's the fucking
yeah, like
nuts matchup of the running
you would
backs.
you would prefer Purdy over Howe on the like normal situation,
Yeah.
but the matchup makes you like go, oh man, this could be big. Like we could see Warren and Najee combine for over 200 yards, in this game. Like, and both get in the end zone. Like it could be. It's one of those games where, like, used to when you would start Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the same week because they're both going to tear it up. That's this week for Pittsburgh.
I'm with you. Last one, I think I would start them over, and I want your opinion. Joe Mixon. I'm doing it. I'm scared of
Sure.
Joe Mixon.
I'm in. Joe, I don't even know what they're gonna do.
Joe Mixon, like the issue with him, man, is like we talked about it last week on the IBT podcast. And I remember on your Friday night show, we talked about it. And I said, I think the volume increases for Joe Mixon, and I think the efficiency goes down. That's usually what you see. You're going to see more stacked boxes. And yeah, he saw more stacked boxes, but he also just didn't have the volume. They only ran 41 plays last week, the Bengals. I don't know if they run a shit ton more than that right now. Like the receiving bailed him out to give him to 8 points. And now we have Zach Taylor coming out this week saying we want to see a little more Chase Brown. That potentially takes some of the receiving upside away from Mixing and potentially some of the change of pace work. So I'm just a little, I mean, it could be nothing. I also fell for the Pete Carroll, Kenny McIntosh a couple weeks ago. I was adding Kenny in a couple of places. So that was a bummer. But Jacksonville, man, like they've allowed the third least fantasy points to opposing running backs over the last 2 weeks. So a better defense than people give credit for. And like, I'm scared shitless kind of a Mixon, honestly. I would try to do whatever I could to get him out of my lineup or trade him. Like, honestly, trade him right now. If your trade deadline is not passed, I think now you have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely in this matchup, Foye Oluokun has been a monster. He's all over the field, and there's no big plays here. Like that linebacker alone can get across and stop. Like Mixon's not breaking a 40-yarder to the house. Like really in this game, what you're hoping is that they're slow and methodical, and somehow they can get within the 5-yard line, and then maybe Mixon gets a touchdown, maybe. But like you said, the defense is good. I'm not in on Mixon, and to further your point, I mean, I don't know that I want Mixon. Like, I mean, even in the playoffs, he's got at Pittsburgh, at Kansas City, at Cleveland. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm with you. If you can trade him, if somehow you haven't hit the trade deadline and people are still hanging on to the work that he's been getting because Burrow's out, I would try to dish him. I'm not trying to keep him in the lineup.
My brother just made a really good last-ditch trade to get rid of him this week, and I thought it was brilliant. He got rid of Mixon and Jerry Jeudy, who's pretty much done nothing too. Very low ceiling for Jerry Jeudy. He shipped them away for Cortland Sutton and James Cook. I thought that was a brilliant trade. I thought James Cook at this point, he's better than Joe Mixon. Like it or not, James Cook is an RB2, like a steadfast RB2 rest away. And Cortland Sutton has been a bona fide stud this season. So, shout out Austin. That was a hell of a trade. I don't think he listens to the show, but if you do, I hope you enjoy your package there. Let's go ahead and talk about wide receivers and round out starts and sits here, Tyler. My start of the week is Josh Downs. It did not come to fruition last week. We saw 13 targets. 13 targets, bro. Like if you would have said last week, you can start Josh Downs and you're going to get 13 targets, I would have said, okay, I'm doing it every time. Well, he got about 9 PPR points from it. So wasn't awesome, but probably no JT in this game. And they haven't freaking rolled him out, which is really peeving me off because I can't pick up any other people and put them on my IRs and in leagues that allow that. But I think with no JT, man, they're going to have to lean on Josh Downs, especially in some of this short yardage, 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s. Like they got to go out of the slot, work the nickel a little bit. So I like Downs this week. Any thoughts on him? Averaging about 7 targets per game, 65% catch rate. So he's been reliable.
Man, I like Minshew. I hope Minshew gets his shot. And I know we're not talking about Minshew, but Minshew can throw the ball. He can air it out. He can get the targets there. I mean, 13 targets, that's great. That's what you want, in any – I mean, and that's been Josh Downs. I mean, 8 targets, 9 targets, 13 targets, 6 targets. The last time that they played Tennessee, Josh Downs had 6 of 6, for 97 yards. So, I mean, like, if it's 6 of 6 for 97 yards, what does it look like when he's getting double-digit targets? I mean, I'm fine with it, I don't know if I would go Downs over Pittman, but I do think that Indianapolis has to throw the ball to be in the game. Like, they're not going to run the ball, even though I will say Moss had a good game when they played Tennessee the first time.
Yep.
Tennessee's run defense is much improved, right?
Yeah.
And like they've been a steady hoss against the run. I think DraftKings has them let's see, ranked top half of the league against the run. So
the secondary's trash too. And they traded Kevin Byard a couple weeks ago to Philadelphia, and he was like the one thing kind of holding the secondary together. And right now, they're a top 6 matchup for opposing wide receivers on the season. So they're getting a little bit better just in general on defense, as you kind of alluded to, but definitely in the run game. So, I think Josh Downs is going to be very necessary for Indianapolis to get out of there with a win this week. A couple names I guess we'll throw out around that range. Who do you prefer, him or Rashee Rice? We saw the big game from Rice last week. However, at the same time, that was a game, no Kadarius Toney, and MBS was banged up in that one as well.
Yeah, I like Rice over
Downs.
Yeah, and it's just, man, I feel like the connection. Mahomes likes to have somebody that he has a connection with, and he likes to feed them, and that connection is continuing to grow and blossom. And you see Mahomes looking for Rice more often, but instead of it being like a third read, like he's like a second read, and like sometimes a first read. And so that gets me a little excited. I will say, Seth, the other piece that makes me think Rice a little bit more is like, I don't know that Indianapolis has
to score.
Yeah, like they're going to be pressed to score. They're going to be throwing. I think they throw a ton because of Minshew's style, but I don't know that they're necessarily like they could also come out in this game and try to control the clock and it be a low scoring game, but I still think he's getting probably at least 6 to 8 targets. Which is enough to make him a good start, especially if you're looking for like a wide receiver 3 or like a flex. But man, yeah, I like Rice and the connection that he's developing with Mahomes.
Okay. We got T. Higgins probably going to be active in this one. I think I would go Rice or Downs over Higgins. I don't think I can trust T this week, man. It's too risky, especially against Jacksonville. They've been playing a lot better on defense. I think Josh Allen is probably going to have at least I don't know what the number is out there, but like for Monday night, if you just need a prop, Josh Allen to have, I imagine the line's going to be half a sack. Take that over. Please take that over. I really think Josh Allen is going to get to Browning out there.
Yeah, that's hard. See, I can't answer that question because I have a lot of T. Higgins shares. And internally, I'm hoping and praying that somehow. But no, I mean, you're probably playing Josh Downs over T. Higgins. I just don't know. I don't know how it's going to go with Browning. I don't know how that connection's going to be. And it's just too risky for me to just roll with it. I've got him in several of my leagues, and he's still on the bench,
The other thing I just kind of want to throw out about the wide receiver position this week, and keep your head on a fucking swivel. Keep your head on a swivel this week because we have so many people questionable. We don't know what's happening with Chris Olave. Tank Dell's questionable. We know at the top of the board, you got Tyreek and Keenan dealing with some injuries. They're probably going to go. But then there's guys like Demario Douglas. No idea right now. Marquise Brown. I don't think it's looking good. Deontay Johnson's banged up again. Chris Godwin. Like, there's a lot of names here that just be vigilant about it and just have a lot of options. Make sure you're playing the earlier guys in your wide receivers and your running back slot so you have some maneuverability with your flexes.
Yeah.
I know 100%. I know it's the most basic ass fantasy advice,
No, but it's
but
so true. Like, I mean, I go on DraftKings and I say that because we were just on there and like, I mean, there's Hill questionable, Allen questionable, AJB questionable, Dale questionable, Olave, Godwin, Cooper, Hollywood Brown, Deontay Johnson,
it's
Jerry Jeudy, Noah Brown, Demario Douglas, Traylon Burks still ain't back from concussion. Like there's a crap ton of people questionable. And so, you always got to be aware of that, and be paying attention because you never know. They could be like, we've seen it several weeks where it looks like somebody's gearing up to play. They've practiced 2 days and all of a sudden, nope.
head on a fucking swivel, folks. Head on a swivel. Tyler, let's go ahead and get to from the forum and answer the people's questions.
If you're up, stuck, thinking about what to do, here in between, we got advice for you. Back and forth all day, trying to pick the play. Let's hear what them boys here had to say.
Presented by the Fantasy Football Advice Network.
All right, the Fantasy Football Advice Network. And Tyler, this is your platform, man. This is where players and creators, we come together, support each other. We're giving real answers, real advice. Just earlier today, but not too long before I jumped on here, I was in there answering some questions for people. And it's just fun, man. It's direct, like it feels so direct. You know what I mean? Like I almost feel like the person's in the living room with me because I can just, hey, what do you think here? You got a lot of other features there. We can post articles as creators and all the videos and podcasts we're doing as well. So it's kind of taking these different apps, Discord, Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, combining it together, and it's free to join. So other than what I've kind of told the people, what can you tell them about the Advice Network and how they can get involved?
Yeah, go to fantasyfootballadvice.com and sign up and check it out for yourself. Man, it's been so cool for me. It's been a passion of mine. I love community. I love people, and that's what it's made. It's a fantasy football community. Everybody's in there helping each other out, updating them on their wins, and then we've created a platform for creators,
Yes.
content creators to
Yes.
also come in and have a voice. So many people want to dive into it or they want to try writing and just see if anybody's interested in their stuff, but there's no platform or website that's just willing to pick them up and write. Well, guess what? You can come write and you can come give advice and you can get advice. And obviously you get bad advice. might be like, oh, I'm not listening to you anymore. But that happens to all of us, but it's just great community. Like that's one thing about the fantasy football. It brings everybody in, everybody's involved. And we wanted that space, and everybody's, there's so many news style platforms out there or platforms for you, but there's not many places where you can just come and hang out, but here you can come and hang out, ask questions. We have DMs, we have groups, we have a betting group for those that like props, but people are connecting all over the place in the world of fantasy football. And, that's what it's about for me. So that's what we're excited about. And, like I said, that's why we even did the free membership. We wanted everybody to have an option. And if you want to pay up for the pro membership options, they're freaking awesome, but you don't have to. You can just hang out with us either way. And you get me on there, you get Seth on there, tons of creators and tons of people that just love fantasy football.
fantasyfootballadvice.com. It's that big name URL. You know it. Go over there, try it out for free, guys. Let's get some questions here, Tyler. Is Roschon Johnson, Antonio Gibson, or Isaiah Likely worth picking up off waivers? This is from our guy, Jay Zamudio. This is my thought on this, man. Like, Roschon, we saw a little bit from him last week. It was great to see that, but there was no Foreman back. Foreman could be back here in a couple weeks. And honestly, if you're competing for a championship, you don't want to ever start a Bears running back, I think, rest of season. Maybe if Foreman comes back and if Foreman secures it, but I just dropped Khalil Herbert in a league today. I didn't think twice about it. I'm good there. Antonio Gibson, he's going to have games if you really needed a spot start, but he's best left on waivers. Isaiah Likely is the only name I would consider rostering just because the tight end landscape here, Tyler.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Likely obviously has the most direct path to relevance. and that's somebody worth picking up. I mean, obviously Lamar likes to get the ball to his tight end. We've seen them be successful before. What was it? Let's see.
It wasn't a bad game even when we saw him last week. It got going early, and then they kind of just went away from him. They kind of just like shut down the offense a little bit. Like,
yeah, but we were talking about it. I mean, targets, 4 receptions on 6 targets for 40 yards. I mean, that's a nice stat line for a tight end. Like, there's lots of tight ends that aren't getting 6 targets a game, and that will only grow. So, like, if I'm picking somebody off waivers, especially if it's tight end premium, that's likely. I'm not interested in rostering Antonio Gibson. Obviously, Brian Robinson is the key there. I might.
You don't want the Bears running back.
I know, but I might be interested in Roschon. It was really interesting. So, coming into the season, Deonta Foreman didn't even see carries. Like, he was a healthy scratch. Even with Khalil Herbert in his second week back, Roschon got like 74% of snaps. It was crazy. I wasn't actually expecting that. But I wonder, and this is where I'm at, I wonder if the Bears are starting to punt. Right, like they're like
they just need to see what they have.
Yeah, let's see what we have in our young guys. We spent up for this guy. We like him a lot. But
they did just win though too. Like they're technically not eliminated from the playoffs now.
I don't love the Detroit matchup after the bye. I definitely don't love the Cleveland matchup after the bye. But
they have a bye. And they have a bye. You can't roster them through the bye right now.
No, you can't. But here, let me ask you this: you want them for Week 16 against Arizona?
Oh, maybe. But I don't think I want to. The answer is yes, but I don't think I want to roster him.
You're not going to roster him over Likely.
Yeah.
It has to be a little bit of a deeper league.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think you are making sense. And like, if I had to roster him over Khalil Herbert now, like if you had to pick or choose, I would take Roschon just because I think you are right that they might be seeing what they have in this guy. I mean, they spent a day 2 pick on him. You don't spend a day 2 on a pick on a guy you don't really want to run unless you accidentally get Tank Bigsby. Haha, sucks Jaguars. But I think in general, I think you sticking up for Roschon there, like, he is worth rostering. At least for another week. Let's see what happens. So let's see what happens. And if he's worth rostering over the bye, we'll find out this week. So
and I don't even think you have to force it. Like, he's gonna be there. Like, they're not playing this week. Nobody's rushing to pick him up. If you're trying to get somebody on waivers, get Likely. Obviously, that's instant value. Look at Roschon maybe next week, maybe the week after. I don't think he's really in the forefront of anybody's mind. Like, let me go grab Roschon immediately,
Yeah, I'll tell you what though. Last night in a league, my big competitive league, like, players don't get dropped. We're usually rostering like sub 1% players in this one, and I swear to God, JSN got dropped and Tajay Spears, and it was like Christmas on the waiver wire. Like, people are I was in a bidding war for JSN just because I have DK, so I was like, I want the handcuff. You can kind of handcuff the wide receiver there, and I got outbid for him, and I got Tajay Spears out of it, and it was like Christmas. So, like, these guys do matter a little bit, but they're depth pieces, so nothing to get too excited about there. Here's an interesting league-based question here from Texas Trojan. This guy's awesome on the forum. He has some really good questions, not only like start-sit questions, trade questions, but like questions like this. What do you all think about having the 6th seed being the team with the most points forced and not a division winner or next best record? I think this is a really interesting way to keep everyone in your league engaged, Tyler, because honestly, like, I'm in a league right now where the guy who has scored the most points for us by a pretty decent margin, he's in dead last. He's eliminated from the playoffs. And like, am I tired of him bitching about it? Yeah. Pearson, shut up. I'm done hearing you talk about it. But at the same time, I think this just gives you a little more incentive, and like, you're never really out of it then.
I mean, we see that in the real NFL though. Like, that's the one thing about it. Like, I don't mind it. It's a creative idea. I know some leagues do that style, but like, I mean, the NFL doesn't do it that way. We don't do it. You got to get the dubs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, sometimes things don't roll in your favor.
Yeah.
Sometimes injuries don't roll in your favor. But also typically in the leagues that I commission, we do a divisional breakdowns similar to the NFL anyways. So we're going to have, 2 buys, obviously, and then we're going to have out of 4 division winners, and then we'll have 2 wild cards, so like now that's like in like a 16 playoff dynamic. But, I mean, I guess if you wanted to get crazy and you wanted to try it, this is how I would do it. I would do like I would change it to either a 5 or a 7 team playoff. I would give my top seed, or like the top person of the season, one person a first round bye, right? And then I would let the other 6 compete. I would have my division winners, and I would bring in wild card,
That's actually not a bad idea at all. I kind of like that. That's a little new style there, and I think it makes it interesting. And all I'll say for the points force crowd out there too is like you have to get the W, because like everyone will scream points force when they're not in the playoffs, but you could have had 3 straight weeks of 200 to start the season, and then like a bunch of mediocre weeks after that. Like that's the one thing you got. Like sometimes you do just get unlucky. Like my buddy Pearson in my keg league, like dude kind of got unlucky. Like but at the same time, like you got to beat what's in front of you, and like it counts. So, yeah, great question there from Texas Trojan. Here's a question from our guy AMLS Sports. What's up, man? Half point PPR, tight end, help rest of season. Dalton Schultz, Pat Freiermuth, or Dalton Kincaid. Tyler, we put out an article earlier this week. I like Pat Freiermuth. The matchup this week, Arizona, been very, very friendly to tight ends. However, rest of season outlook, that's a different story. Dalton Schultz has been great, and Dalton Kincaid, he's got that upside, man.
One winter. Yeah, I'm gonna go. So my top value here is gonna be Kincaid. Kincaid has become quickly what seems to be Josh Allen's number 1 target and number 1 read. I mean, he is throwing to him so much. I mean, pretty much like a plus 5.5 receptions has been a smash on props betting every week. That's usually the line, and he kills it. And so in a half point PPR, especially, I don't know if there's any kind of premium, but like a half point PPR, I like him on receptions. And yards. He gets, a touchdown, almost every other week.
He's so involved, it's honestly hurting Diggs and Gabe Davis a little bit. I mean, Diggs hasn't been great, on his own the last couple weeks, but yeah, man, I think Dalton Kincaid, like, you can't let him go. So
yeah, his Cincinnati 11 targets for 10 catches. Now his average yards per catch is like 8.
Right.
So it's not like you're getting deep catches, but he's getting peppered so much. Like none of these other guys are getting that many targets. Now I will say this past week I got land blasted again, Seth, because somehow I always just seem to have takes that people don't like, but I liked the Muth going into last week.
Okay.
I picked the Muth over several because when he is on the field, Kenny Pickett likes to get him the ball. We're all crying, please get Pickens the ball. Please get Deontay Johnson. But like the one guarantee is he's gonna try to get Pat Freiermuth the ball. And so like that's a good high upside play. Dalton Schultz tends to get really involved when the Texans play from behind.
And when they don't have their full assortment of wide receivers.
So it's not a guarantee for me. So, but I feel like we've seen, out of these 3 at least, over the last weeks, Kincaid is the most guaranteed significant workload out of all of them.
Yep, 100% there. He's in a different tier for me. A defensive question to round us out here from the Bears. Hi, guys. Kansas City, Philly, or Rams defense? I'm guessing he means this week, and you can't go with Philadelphia's defense against the 49ers. Yeah. I think Kansas City's defense against the Packers, okay, but the Lions just got lit up by them, so I think they're finding their groove a little bit. And then the Rams, man, I think are maybe the toughest one to figure out, and I think they're probably the play. Even though like they're not a good defense and they haven't been a good fantasy defense all season. Like, I mean, they're gonna get what, PJ Walker or Footsteps Flacco this week? Like, I'll take that.
Footsteps Flacco. That's incredible. that's bravo.
It's footsteps, man. That's what.
No, like I'll say this: matchup driven. I like the opportunity for the Rams. I think we could see, but here's one thing I will say: PJ Walker, if he's the guy, has been serviceable.
Yeah, he is.
If Flacco's the guy, I think that they're going to rack up sacks. PJ Walker, I mean, he can move a little bit. He's been serviceable. Just standard. If I was to close my eyes and not really think about it too much, Kansas City has been a plug and leave for me this year. I mean, for the most part, I have just left them in there where people are like streaming, and they have not let me down. I mean, if you look at points, they have only had 2 weeks on the season, I guess, in standard scoring under 10 fantasy points from the defense. Wow. And that's kind of what
they
you
actually
look
have
for.
been baller. They have. Damn,
Yeah,
I was actually trying to trade for a defense earlier this week. They might not be a bad one. Oh, geez.
Right. Sacks, they have had at least one sack in every game. They have forced a fumble in all but 2 games. You know what I mean? Like their pass rush, is really what carries. But I mean it's just hard. I mean, Green Bay, they're coming off of a hot game, but that doesn't mean that's how they've ran it all season. And so, for me, the Chiefs, I don't really care who they're playing. If you're looking at defense, I feel like if you can average 10 to 12 points on the defense and it's guaranteed, like you just roll with that defense, Yeah. And especially when it's Sack City. I mean, there's not a single game this season they haven't had a sack.
It's a good point, man. Yeah, if this means you have to drop Kansas City to pick up Rams, if you can roster both, maybe I'd still roll out Rams just a little bit more. I think if it is footsteps, I am with you. If it is PJ Walker, I do think I would stick Kansas City. But either way, if you can only roster one rest of the season, it's got to be Kansas City. I'm with you.
Yeah, you got to, because listen to Kansas City's playoff schedule. Week 15, New England. Week 16, Las Vegas. Week 17, Cincinnati.
Yeah, all backup quarterbacks.
Like, I don't care if I don't have to play if I can't play a defense this week. I'm keeping Kansas City, and I want them for the playoffs.
I'm with you there, man. I'm with you. Appreciate everyone there over at the Fantasy Football Advice Network. Thank you guys so much for powering this segment as well, Tyler. And let's go ahead and round out the show with a little bit of Sure Things Sleepers of the Week.
It's the Sure Thing. Sleepers of the Week.
Sure thing, sleepers of the week. And I'm going to feel like a real asshole in this segment because I couldn't even remember the name of my sleeper earlier in a different segment of the show. So I'm going to feel like an asshole here soon. But Tyler, I'll let you lead off here. We're looking for a play off the radar. Someone maybe people aren't talking about because we got to fill some holes because it's by Mageddon. It's by NATO. It's by Apocalypse, whatever you want to call it. It's here. How can we get through it, my friend?
Man, for all those super flex teams out there that are still looking for a quarterback, for teams that are missing their quarterback because we have by Mageddon, by Apocalypse, as you said it.
Yeah.
I might be out of my mind, but I will probably throw in my lineup Bailey Zappe this week.
You are sick.
I know. I'm probably. It's like I don't know if you've seen Longest Yard when they're looking at pictures of the like that's a sick degenerate convict. Like like that's me. Like here's the thing, Zappe. I mean, his final season in college. I know this is kind of what has carried him. Almost 6,000 yards passing. He threw for 1,095 yards more than any other quarterback in the NCAA, like in college football. He threw more touchdowns than Joe Burrow did his crazy year that everybody went nuts. Like, the guy can chunk the rock, and he hasn't really been trusted with the opportunity to handle it. But I think New England's now gotten so sick and tired of Mac Jones and his turnovers and whatever else is going on, that they're like, and even like they threw Bailey Zappe in, like, was it the other week, and he threw a pick, but he was coming in on the end of like crap. There was no game script. Like, it was like, okay, just go in there. Max obviously quit on the bench already. You know what I mean? Like, so for him to come in and get the start this week, I feel like there's a little confidence there. I think he's
A little juice,
a little juice, little got something to prove. And the matchup isn't ugly. He gets the Chargers. Like, it's the Chargers. They haven't been great. So it, to me, I mean, it's a deep play. If you're in a one quarterback league, maybe you are playing them just because you have so many on bye. Like, if it's like a 12 or 16 team league,
he's higher in the consensus rankings than I thought he was. He a lot of people right now have him around the 19-20 area, which is a lot higher than I thought he would be. I don't even think he would be ranked for most people. So, and dude, like, honestly, the Chargers defense, they've been a little better as of late, but like, what happens here if New England comes in here and wins with Bailey Zappe? I don't know if Staley has a job on Monday. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, they're going to make some financial decisions over there in Charger land and decide if they want to pay a fired coach because they're cheapos. But yeah, I thought no way when you first threw out this name that I would like actually, and I don't think I'm not full on board, but I'm not against it, which I thought I was going to be when you first said it. So
let me give you this. Okay.
Little zip on the ball, Zappe.
Little extra. So last year, in the two games that in the first game, he actually got a full start. He went 21 attempts for 17 completions, which means he only missed 4 for 108 yards and a touchdown. The game after that, he then went 34 attempts for 24 completions, 300 yards, and 2 touchdowns against Cleveland. So, I mean, the guy can play. Like, don't get it mixed up. It's not like, Jake Browning coming in, or, like the guy can throw the football. There was a reason that they drafted him. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't a free agent pickup. So, I mean, like, I keep waiting for it. I'm hoping for it, that we're going to get the Zappe, I mean, he was a deep get for me in Dynasty. I have him rostered in several.
Western Kentucky guy, right?
Western Kentucky, he's still got the passing record. It just, I don't know. The guy can chunk the ball.
Okay.
So let's the ball.
All right. A little zip on the ball Zappe for a guy Tyler there. I will round us out. And I think I'm doing it. I'm going back to Royce Freeman. I forgot his name earlier. But the Rams,
that's tough.
The Rams like this guy, man. Like, he's averaging 12.6 carries per game this season. That includes 13 for 77 and 1 last week. And he's like the best he's ever looked in his entire career, averaging 4.6 yards per carry. That is almost a career high for this guy. Like, the thing you got to stomach with Royce Freeman is that you're looking for a touchdown. So also, I was going to look it up, but I didn't have the time before the show. But I will be betting him for an anytime touchdown score as well. Because that's how he's going to get fantasy relevance here. He's nothing in the passing game, but Cleveland is a top 9 matchup against the position. And that's over the last month. Like, they've been getting far worse against running backs. They're getting banged up. Myles Garrett's probably not going to play. He hasn't practiced all week, Tyler. So I don't know. They allowed Javonte last week. They allowed Samaje Perine to get double digits. That's all we need. Jaylen Warren had his career day a couple weeks ago against them, and Keaton Mitchell had his big day too. So I'm in, man. Let's let it ride with Royce Freeman.
Oh, God. You're such a brave soul.
Royce Freeman.
Like I struggle with that
It's
one. I
so
mean,
hard to pick running back sleepers this week. I picked the worst
yeah.
week to do it, but I was like, fuck it. I feel the vibes, man. Like they fuck with Royce Freeman. Like he's
Well,
that dude.
I will say this. I was like dumbfounded. Okay. Like whenever they brought in Daryl Henderson, played him. And as soon as they found out Kyron was coming back, it was like dump. Like they just dished Daryl Henderson like he was yesterday's dirty laundry. And
Yeah.
it didn't bother them 1 minute. I mean, I'm pretty sure McVay probably walked in and was like, hey man, pack your shit. It's okay. Like you knew this was coming. Like,
Yeah.
but they kept Freeman. Like they kept Royce Freeman. And I was like, I thought it would have went the other way. Like I thought they would have kept him, dish Freeman, but they kept Freeman. So obviously they like something. He's gone 70 plus yards in the last 2 games. Even like last week with Kyron, he still rushed for over 70 yards. So I like it as a deep play. Like if you need somebody, like if you got a lot of people out and you need a deep play.
I've seen some of my friends' rosters this week, some of my league mates' rosters, and people are ripping out A.T. Perry, people are ripping out Miles Sanders. Like I'm ripping out Royce Freeman ahead of those guys. Like that's kind of where some people. I'm not hurt as bad as a lot of people. I don't have a lot of the teams on bye this week that I feel like some people do. Like I don't have a lot of Bears and some of these other programs that are not playing this week. But yeah, I mean, you could do worse than old Rolls Royce out there. That's what people. Do you remember that one year when everyone was taking him in like the 3rd or 4th round and everyone's naming their team like Rolls Royce, and he was terrible. He was dog shit. But now's the time,
Well, the
baby.
year before he was decent. Like what was that back when? Oh God, who was the running back for Denver then?
Monty Ball.
Yeah, Monty Ball, dude. Oh, those were good days.
Those were good
One
days.
the one and done or 2 and done running backs.
Yeah.
Just
And honestly, man, today was a good day, Tyler. I appreciate you so much for joining us. It's just around 3 a.m. on the East Coast. We're plus an hour in, so I think we're going to get ready to wrap things up, man. And this has been an awesome week for us over here at IVT Media. Had so much fun creating a bunch of different content for you guys, and we got about 5 weeks left after week number 13, and just can't wait to keep pounding it out with you guys and having fun doing it, man. Like it's been a blast all season long. We're learning a lot together, and we're just taking it all in together. But Tyler, before I let you go, man, tell us how we can best support you, the Fantasy Football Advice Network, and everything you guys have going on over there, man.
Look, I mean, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at FF Advice Network. You can follow me personally at Tyler Bradley CP. Those things are much appreciated. It's that on all of our social media handles. But the thing that would help the most, or the thing that we would really love, is to have all of you great people that are tuning into this show, all that have been part of the IBT community that I see on the shows all the time. Like you guys come over to fantasyfootballadvice.com and join the network.
Just
Like I
try
said,
it. Just try it. You won't want to leave. I promise you.
It's free. Like I said, it's free. If you want to do the pro membership and get some extra features, extra tools, extra things like that, cool. But you don't have to. You can still be a part of the community without ever spending a dime.
Yep.
And just hang out with us. Like that's what would mean the most to me. Like I joined this space and I even built the community because I had a Facebook group with, like 7,000 people that love fantasy football. And they were always asking questions like, but I mean, on Facebook, Instagram, you can't do anything now without getting reels or ads every like 3 things.
So
I can't
hard.
even scroll through the feed on our Facebook group without seeing crap popping in there. And I was like, man, what if there was just a space without all this other stuff? And that we could just hang out and talk. And so we created it. And, just the community has been killer. The people that are joining it love it and are on there all the time. And that's life-giving to me. That's cool to provide that for the fantasy football community. So come and hang out with us. You can DM me on there if you want to. You can ask your questions. I promise I'll try to get on there and answer it. But yeah, it's definitely good times. Good hangs.
Good hangs, baby. Good hangs and good vibes here on Feel Good Friday. And like I said at the top of the show, if we missed any of your guys' questions because we weren't live today, and again, sorry we aren't live. I hopefully you're watching the premiere of this and getting that good information that you need either way. But if you have questions, go over to the Fantasy Football Advice Network, make an account. Let us know your questions in there, or leave us a comment here on YouTube, or do both. Whatever you want to do here. It's your time, not mine. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was great hanging with y'all again. And we'll be back live on Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, keep it in between. And we're going out with the From the Forum drop because it's just so damn funky and just so damn fun. Have a good one, y'all.
If you're up, start thinking about what to do. Here in between, we got advice for you. Back and forth all day, trying to pick the play. Let's hear what them boys here had to say.
Presented by the Fantasy Football Advice Network.